Hello and welcome back. Today we are doing my 2025 makeup favourites. So these are the tried and tested, true favourites from the whole year of 2025. These are the products that I just went back to time and time again. Many of them are old favourites from years previously, so you may have seen these in previous yearly favourites, in my favourites from throughout the year, and also in a lot of my makeup videos, but I just wanted to make sure that this was really the best of the best, and hopefully you get some recommendations if you are looking for new products, new shades, something to fill that gap in your collection. Hopefully this is a useful video for you to see. I love watching these videos in December and January, just seeing like what everyone's favourites were for the year, so hope that you enjoy it too. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for your support, and let's just get into it. So starting off with primer, my favourite primer of the year was the Glow Hub High Glaze Serum Drops, and this is in the shade Glazed. They do a few different versions of this, but this is just the one that I go back to time and time again. This is my second bottle of this, and I love it. My favourite way to use it is as a mixing medium with the concealer that I'm going to mention, but I also love using it as a primer. Might be running out there. It just adds a really glowy base. It's kind of like a pinkish jelly when you squeeze it out, but it just turns clear on the face, and it gives a really glossy look to the skin. So think of the Glossier primer serum thing they do. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on screen if I can find it. I would say that it's very comparable to that in terms of what it does for the skin. It just adds a really nice kind of prepped, moisturized, tacky, glossy base. A lot of kind of slip and slide to the skin, and it helps makeup sit on top of it. It feels quite hydrating as well on the skin, but the Glossier one broke me out. So I tried that many years ago and I got really bad breakouts from it. Often when I try different base products, they will break me out. So there's a lot of base products like the Saie Slip Tint, for example. Can't wear that. That gives me huge like cystic spots on my chin. That's normally where I get it when I break out from a product. So that one did break me out, but this is a really good alternative and does a really similar thing. Moving on to foundation, this is the only actual foundation that I used. I actually like mixing my concealer with the serum drops to make kind of like a tinted moisturizer type thing for like an everyday base. But when I did want something a little bit more heavy coverage, I went for the Huda Beauty Easy Blur. This is so good. So I've actually tried a few different foundations recently, and just like none of them have been perfect. None of them have been exactly what I'm looking for. So I used to really like the Charlotte Tilbury, it's like the Magic foundation or something like that. I enjoyed that for a couple of years, but I just found in the end that it was just quite like heavy on sitting on the skin, and I wanted something a little bit more lightweight. So I tried the House Labs foundation, which everyone raves about. I did not like that. I found that it sat so, again, really like visibly on my skin, like you could see the foundation sitting there. I don't know if the shade I got was off, but it's so expensive, and I thought this was going to be the best shade match for me, but it just wasn't a great fit. So the next one I bought was the Huda Beauty Easy Blur. Been using this for probably well over a year now, to be honest, and it's such a good foundation. So I have two shades. My summer shade is the shade Shortbread 200B, but my winter shade is the shade Cashew 140G, and these are both really good shade matches for me. I have like neutral undertones, but obviously very fair. So if you're a fellow redhead and you're looking for a good shade, check out both of those. I've seen other redheads like on TikTok and stuff using the Cashew shade as well, so definitely check that out. What I like about this is just how thin and liquidy it is. It offers a really good amount of coverage, but it doesn't feel heavy on the skin, and it blends in really well. Like I said, I found with other foundations, I was just kind of feeling like they sat on top of my skin. The reason that I really like using a light base and like a tinted moisturizer base is because it just doesn't feel like I'm wearing makeup, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like the feel that I like my makeup to have, and it's really hard to find that with a foundation. This one though just blends in like a dream, as I said, and it really does feel like my skin and also look like my skin. So that is my favorite thing about this, is once it's blended in, it really has a very natural skin-like finish. It doesn't add too much shine and dewiness. It's not too matte. It's just the perfect skin-like finish. And I really think this is, I know a lot of people use this, but I don't see loads of people including it in like real favorites, and I think it's underrated, honestly. I see a lot more people talking about the House Labs foundation, and like I said, I just didn't get on with that when I tried it. So my skin is extremely pale and quite tired looking at the moment, just because we've just had Christmas. It's been a hectic week. First week back this week to work, and it's been a lot. So yeah, really do enjoy the Huda Beauty foundation. Moving on to concealer, probably is going to come as no surprise to people that my favourite concealer of the year was, again, the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. I feel like this is maybe the 4th year that I've been using this. I go through probably about 3 containers of this per year, so do the maths. I've bought a lot of these. That is because that I like to use it, like I said, mixed in with the serum drops as my kind of tinted moisturizer base. So it's really like my everyday base for all over my face, but I do also love it as a concealer. So the formula of this, again, is just very hydrating, it's kind of like a creamy consistency, but it doesn't ever kind of dry up or look really obvious under the eyes, which is obviously hard to find in a concealer, and that is why I just go back time and time again to this one. It adds just the right amount of coverage. It's not really full coverage, but I personally don't love my concealers to be really full coverage because I still want it to look natural under my eyes. I don't mind if you can see a little bit of blueness peeking through. I just want it to kind of fade naturally through the day and sit on my skin nicely. So I'm not super bothered if some of it does come off over the course of the day. So this is not concealer for you if you want like really full coverage, like Tarte Shape Tape vibes. This is not the one. But if you want a nice, natural looking, everyday concealer that's going to add hydration, this one is great. The other reason I think this has been a favourite for so long is the undertones of this shade in particular. So I use the shade Light, and again, it's just really neutral. It works for me all year round, and I love the shade on me. It's hard to find the right shade as a redhead, so that is a big reason I think that it stayed in my favourites for so long. Okay, so now moving on to cream cheek products. My favourite cream bronzer, dun 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 dun, was the Saie. Actually, both the bronzer and the cream blush that I'm going to talk about are from Saie. So this, again, I've used for years. I've used since we were living in the old house, so well over 3 years, probably 4 years, maybe 5 at this point. I always go back to this. Again, this is my 2nd tub of this. I didn't actually run out of the 1st tub, but it was just so old that I thought I'd better replace it for like hygiene reasons. It will take you a lifetime to go through this whole thing. Again, I love the undertone of this. It's so easy to just throw on your face, and one of the best things about this is the consistency and the texture of it, in my opinion. It is very slippery, but it's not so much that it's gonna like slip and slide off your face. It just has enough movement and emollients to it that it's not gonna like really dry out or be like hard to use. And again, that I think is a big reason why you can use it for so long, because it really doesn't like dry out in the pan, where I've had other cream bronzers like this that will just dry out and almost become impossible to use. Again, one of the best things about this bronzer for me personally is the undertone. It's not too orange, it's not too grey, it adds a nice amount of warmth while still adding like a definition to your cheeks, and that is like the perfect sweet spot, I think, for a bronzer, because you just don't want it to be too orange, but you don't want it to be too chiseled and creating like a real contour. You just want it to like nicely warm up the face and add a little bit of definition, and this does that perfectly. This is a shade Light Bronze. I love it. So for cream blush, my favorite is the Saie Dew Blush in the shade Spicy specifically. This is a really beautiful, warm, kind of burnt terracotta shade. It's going to be perfect for fellow redheads. I love the formula of these because they are kind of like a cream, like a creamy consistency, but they blend out to just have so much kind of shine and dewiness, as the name would suggest, on the skin. So I really do like these for just adding some hydration back to my cheeks. I don't wear highlighter because you just don't need it when you, I think, wear a cream blush that has this much dewiness. It just adds like a natural highlight to the skin. And the shade of this, as I said, is perfect for redheads because it does have those very warm, kind of autumn rusty undertones, and I love this in all seasons because, like I said, in the autumn winter times it's really nice because it kind of leans into those autumn colours, but in the summer times and the springtime it has more of like a kind of sunburnt vibe to it, and it's just really flattering on redheads with our hair colour, I think, to have a blush with warm undertones. And I have always liked like peachy pinks on me, but recently I just prefer these kind of darker, sort of bronzier shades for my blush. So yeah, this has been, again, a favourite for several years and I always go back to it. Next, we are moving on to powder, and I cannot remember the last time I had a different powder in my collection. This is just the best all-rounder powder for me. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish, as many of you probably know. This is like my second or third pan again. I just love the texture of this powder. Specifically, I love to apply it with the Spectrum KTJ Hughes 04 brush. It's kind of like an angled stippling brush, but it applies powder really nicely. I actually saw a video of her applying this powder with this brush, and I think you can get like very precise in your eyes and things like that. So I really like how it distributes the powder across my face, basically. So the thing that I love about this powder is it is slightly mattifying, but it doesn't add too much product to your face, too much of an extra layer of product. Like some powders that I've used in the past have just been really powdery, for want of a better word. Like you can feel them on your skin. You cannot feel this, but it just adds what it needs to add. So it will mattify slightly, it will blur, but then throughout the day it just wears really nicely. A little bit of shine can come through. So I do have like normal to dry skin, so I don't want to be matte for the whole day. It's just not the look that I prefer. I like to have a little bit of shine to my face, and this kind of allows that to come through throughout the day, but it still sets, mattifies and blurs things enough to where my makeup just looks really nice. I did just want to mention one other brush that was a discovery this year, which is definitely a favourite, and that's my cream blush brush. So I use that with the Saie Dew blush. This is the Rare cream blush brush, and again, it's like an angled stippling brush, but it's specifically designed for use with cream blush. And again, I just love the shape of this because you can really like get that. I like to wear my blush high up, and you can really like easily get that shape, and it just blends so quickly as well. That's what I really find with this compared to other cream blush brushes or brushes that I've used for cream blush in the past. So when I'm doing a slightly heavier makeup day, I do really love to set my cream bronzer and blush with powder bronzer and blush. So my favorite powder bronzer is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer. So many people talk about this, but it really, really is worth the hype. I have just the mini version if you want to just try it out. This is going to last me forever, to be honest. This is in the shade Diffused Bronze Light. This is my favorite shade for kind of across the year. This is going to be quite subtle, but it really does add a nice amount of definition and warmth, similar to what this does in a cream version. I think this is like the perfect kind of powder complementary version. So I am pretty generous with the amount that I will apply this, because the shade just doesn't ever start looking too orange. It doesn't start looking like, oh my god, you're putting like so much stripes of bronzer on, like what are you doing? You know how some bronzers can do that. It just blends so nicely. And these Hourglass powders are all kind of baked powders, and I think that really helps with the texture on the skin and how sort of airbrushed it makes your skin look. And then my powder blush favorite was actually a newer find towards the kind of autumn months. I bought this because I thought it looked like a really nice autumn blush. This is the Kosas Blushes Life in the shade Dreamland. Such a nice shade. It is, I think it's described on their website as like a rosy bronze or something like that. Again, it's like the perfect shade for redheads because it has those real bronze warmth undertones, but it also has the kind of peachy pink in there. So it just means that it's like ideal for our complexion colouring and everything. I like to pack this on. Again, it's a baked formula, so it has a really nice texture to the skin. And I like to apply this quite generously. I am a blush girl these days, so I know that's kind of like the vibe and the fashion, but I really do like a heavy blush. I like to be able to see my blush throughout the day. I do find this lasts well and has a decent amount of pigment as well, but it's not too powdery. It's just really a beautiful formula. Okay, so now we're going to move on to eyes. Now for eyeshadow, I actually don't have an eyeshadow favorite for the year to share this year. I think this is kind of like just the way that trends have gone recently, but for me, eyeshadow has become kind of like a take it or leave it product, and there isn't one eyeshadow that really stood out to me for the whole year, and most of the time I don't wear eyeshadow anymore, so it didn't feel right to just like try and pick one to include. So we don't have an eyeshadow to talk about, but I did want to talk about an eyeliner because, as you know, I really like tight lining my top lash line. Lining my top lash line with a brown eyeliner and then smudging it out. That's kind of like my favorite everyday look for my eyes. The one that I've recently gone back to, which was always my favorite for ages, but they stopped selling it on their website. I think they repackaged it. I don't think they have reformulated it. It feels like the same product on my eyes, like the old favorite that I knew and loved, but it does have new packaging. So this is the Beauty Bay Locked In Longwear eyeliner in the shade Coffee. So the reason this is my favorite eyeliner is the shade. First of all, it's a really deep brown, which again, I think is really flattering with my coloring, but also the formula of this is really easy to blend out. So I have used another eyeliner for most of this year when I couldn't find this on the Beauty Bay website anymore. I purchased a NYX one, and that dried out so quickly and just became really hard to blend, really hard to work with. The reason that I like this is because I don't find that this dries out anywhere near as quickly. It'll take like a couple of years to dry out to the same level as the NYX dried out in like a couple of months. So I really like how easy it is to work with and blend and just give you that kind of smudged, flattering, soft glam eyeliner kind of look. So I've been struggling with eczema on my eyes recently, and although it is healed, they're still feeling like a little bit sensitive and red. So yeah, excuse Excuse that if you can see that on camera. For mascara and brows, my two favourites are still the Glossier ones. So Glossier Lash Slick in black and my Glossier Boy Brow in blonde. So the Glossier Lash Slick is just my go-to everyday mascara, has been for years. I just love how lengthening it is on my lashes. It doesn't add a ton of volume, so it's not going to give you those va-va-voom lashes. For that reason, I don't like using it as a kind of evening, night out, wedding day guest mascara, but I do love using it as my everyday mascara. It's definitely the one that I use the most, and therefore this one is my favourite for 2025. And I just wiggle it on the lashes. And I love the brush on this one as well because it's quite long and thin, and you're able to really coat the lashes very well with it because of that. I know a lot of people are using brown mascara these days, but for me, you just can't beat black mascara. Like, I cannot get on board with brown mascara. It just doesn't look right on me for some reason. Again, another staple favourite, my Glossier Boy Brow. I have used this for years as well. If you're looking for a good brow gel, that's not going to be like a lamination gel, okay? I don't want my brows like being like really standing up straight. That's just not what I'm looking for. I just want a little bit of a tint, a little bit of definition, and for it to kind of stay in place. Now, I am pretty much at the end of this. There's not much left in here. And I've actually switched to a pencil, but this is definitely the one that I have used the most over 2025. I only bought my eyebrow pencil like a month ago, so this had to be my favourite for 2025. Final product is setting spray. I know a lot of people say that setting spray is like kind of unnecessary and not really needed. To those people I say, have you tried the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray? Honestly, I notice such a difference to my makeup when I use this, and I personally do think it's necessary. Also, another favourite of 2025 is drying my setting spray with a fan. This was a free fan I got on my friend's wedding. Thank you so much for giving out fans, because it's been a staple in my makeup bag ever since. Oh, I forgot lips. Okay, we will do lips in a minute. The reason that I love this setting spray so much is just because I really do find it improves the look of my makeup. It makes my makeup look more blended, more skin-like, more natural. It would be fine without it, but I just think this adds the extra little cherry on top, and it does really help my makeup wear throughout the day. Like, whenever I'm going to a wedding, I cannot be without this because it really does help my makeup just like stay and the longevity last throughout the day. So for me, I really do like this step, and I notice a difference when I don't wear setting spray. So it is necessary for me. My two lip favourites, I have lip liner and then I have a gloss stick. So we have the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner in Pillow Talk. This has been my favourite for many years now. It's just the perfect undertone for my lips. I need to have a little bit of pink. It can't be like an all brown, all kind of beige undertone for me. So I need to have a little bit of pink, but enough definition and enough kind of, it needs to be deep enough, not like a really light pink colour. So I love the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, just the regular Pillow Talk, not the like Pillow Talk Dark or all the different ones they've got. Just the old school original Pillow Talk is my favourite. And then for lipstick, or this is actually a lip gloss stick, this is the Hourglass. I think they're called the Phantom Glossy Balms, and this is in the shade Slip. This is just the lip product that I've gone back to time and time again. I do cycle through different lip products pretty often, but this one I've just gone back to time and time again over the course of the year. So this is my 2025 favourite because of that. I love the undertone to this. So it's a really beautiful kind of natural nude colour. It actually looks quite similar to the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. They kind of complement each other quite well. So I would say the Pillow Talk is slightly more mauve and the gloss is slightly more pink, but they're very similar in tone and undertone, I would say. But yeah, this is just a really good natural everyday gloss, and it lasts a fairly long time as well. It gives a decent amount of pigment and looks really shiny on the lips, so that's great. It doesn't feel too sticky, all of that. The formula is just really good, which you would expect when you're paying this much for a lipstick. But also, one of my favorite things about this is just how nice it feels to have in your handbag and pull it out and put it on. I really do think there is something in that kind of ritual of applying a really nice lipstick that it makes my heart happy, like when I apply it. So there is something in that, you know? So that is another reason why I really do love this lipstick. So this is the finished makeup look. One thing I will say is it has been really hot in this room. We've had the heating on. It is absolutely frosty and frozen outside. So I feel like my cheeks have gone really red. I think they've cooled down a little bit, but if they're looking like pinker than usual, it's probably just because of the heat in the room and me being flushed, so excuse that. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed, found it useful, got some recommendations for some new products if you're in the market for them in 2026, some new ideas for makeup. And yeah, I will be back very soon with a new video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.